Okay, 1 second. Okay, so let's start. Today we'll go with all three things again. One is problems in JavaScript. Second is object-oriented concept in JavaScript. And then third is we'll do something in React, something new. So let's start with the problems in JavaScript. So yesterday we were doing the reduce function, and we saw how to concatenate or flatten the array using the reduce function of the JavaScript. Today we'll use also the reduce function. So we'll do reduce in JavaScript. 1 second. We'll see one more example of reduce in JavaScript. So here is the problem goes like this. I have object and object looks like this. Let, or I can use var friends equal to I have array, and inside array I have objects. One object, second object, because reduce works in array, so we have to build array and work on that one. And third object, and each object is like this. I have something like name, Anna, then books. So what books Anna has, it's a list of books. It is an array. So inside object we have a books key, and that is an array. And array maybe she is having 3-4 books like Bible, Harry Potter. These 2 books she has, and this is the age of Anna, 21. So we have another friend called as name is Bob. Sorry, I pressed enter by mistake. So I have the name Bob, and Bob has following books. For example, he has War and Peace, Romeo and Juliet. So these 2 books Bob has, and age is 26. Let's create third object. Name is Alice, and books she has are the Lord of the Rings, The Shining. Okay, and the age is 18. So this is a list of friends, and they have different books in the shelf. So the Anna has these 2 books, Bob has these 2 books, and Elias has these 2 books. Okay, there is syntax error. Let's see where is the syntax error. Okay, I don't have comma here, so because of that there is syntax error. Okay, I created the friends array with all these 3 data. So the task which I have to do is we have to get the list of all books, a list which will contain all friends books. So I want the all books. So we'll do with the reducer like this. We'll call the variable called as all books. This is the very ultimate variable. It will go through the friends array. So I'll say friends dot reduce. I'll use reduce for the friends, and I'll go through. I'll put the arrow function here, and initial will be an array. So the return of all books is array, and I will go through all the object in the friends, and we will use this arrow function to get the books names. So inside this arrow function, I will get two things. One is accumulator and one is the current one. When the first time this loop runs, that is at index 0, the accumulator will be empty array and the current will be this object. Okay, this object. Now, so what I will return an array, and this array will be, first I have to take this accumulator. So to get the accumulator, I can use the spread operator like this. So that means it will take the content of this array, whatever inside it. So initially it is null. So it will take empty array and it will concatenate with whatever I push it inside it. So right now I want books. That is this books. Right now I'm getting object and I want the books. And I want the array of these books. So I can do spread operator of current dot books. When I say current dot books, that means the content of these two parts will be pushed here and appended with the accumulator. And accumulator is empty initially, so it will only take this current books, that is these two parts. And when second time it will run, the accumulator will have these two parts, and we are pushing new current dot books, that is these two part, to the previous array. And when third time it will run, accumulator will have these two plus these two, and we are pushing these two inside the accumulator. And finally this accumulator will be returned, which will have this array of all the books. So if I enter it and I say all books, I will see there is an array with all the books are coming here. So yesterday we saw the concatenate to the array. This is same thing, concatenate, but this is in a different way. We are using the spread operator to append or to push the books inside it, inside the accumulator. So we will create a file and save this information. So I'll copy this part and I'll create one function, one page, and I'll name it as list of books.js. So this is my variable of friends. So go through over this function again and again to understand what I'm doing. It is same thing what we did in reduce. Every day what we do in reduce. And this is the final main function. So maybe I can create the function list of books where I pass the array, and that array goes here and we return the all books in the end, or we can say return of Okay, return of this array.reduce, and we do this part, and we'll take this list of books. Maybe we can create all books is equal to list of books array, and we can pass brains inside the array. And let's do console.log of all books. Let's copy this part and run it. So we are getting same information. So we get the array of this one. So this is output. Okay, so this is what we did. Let's do one more problem of the reduce. Okay, so this one was the one problem. Why not to group this in a folder so that we know what we did in the reduce. So let me move this and this inside this folder. And we also did one of the reverse thing using the reduce method. So I move all whatever is done with the reduce in one folder. Okay, let's do one more problem for the reduce. So the task to do is remove the duplicate items in an array. So we have array and we have many items which are duplicate, which are same. We don't want it. We want the same unique elements in the array. So for example, my array is like this. A, B, A, B. So 2 times A is there, 2 times B is there, then C, E, E, C, D, 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 D. So this is my array, and I want a unique element. That is, I want A, B, C, D, E. I don't want 2A or 2B or 2E or 2C. So I'll write a function called as remove duplicate items, and I pass my array some array inside it. Okay, and then what I'll do, return array.reduce. So I'm returning the array.reduce. So I will go through each one and write down the logic so that I can remove the duplicate items. So inside the reduce, I have the function, and initial value will be array. So I will be returning the array with the unique items. So inside this curly bracket, I will write down the function. So to check if array has particular element, okay, so to write down, I will copy this function. So let me explain some basic to do this problem. So let's go reduce one. Remove duplicate item.js. So let me clear something with you. So let's say if I want to check if A exists in this array, I can say like this, my array dot index of. So index of means I will pass something. Let's say I can pass B or I can pass C, and if that character or that element exists in this array, then it will return some kind of true or some kind of value. So if I pass B, so it's saying 1. That is, B is at the position number 1. So if I say, for example, E, so it is at the position number 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now if I say F, F does not exist in the array, so it is returning -1. So we will use this idea to know if the array consists of any element or not. So now let's write down this function again. So now what I'll do, I will not check in the array. I am looping through the array A, B, C, D, and I am putting each element inside the new array, that is this one, the one which I created here. So first time, let's say I will be putting accumulator dot push. We use push method to add the item in the array. So I will push the, here will be two things, accumulator and current. So accumulator initially will be the empty array, and the current will be this A first time. So I will push this current inside the accumulator. When it runs second time, I will push B, then comes A. But now I cannot push A because A already exists in accumulator. I have to skip the A. To skip the A, I will put the condition if accumulator dot index of current, that means current exists in the accumulator, is not equal to -1. So I'll check if it is not equal to -1. If it is -1, that means accumulator is not having the current. So if it is not equal to -1, that means it's already there. So I can return it here. Return accumulator here. Or I can do like this. If it is equal to -1, if accumulator dot index of current equal to -1, that means it does not exist. It lies in this part. Then only I will add it in the accumulator. Let's go through again. I will do console.log of accumulator is accumulator, current is current, and index is index. I will pass one more parameter, index. So when the first time it will run, accumulator will be empty array, the current will be A, and index will be 0. And since accumulator is empty, so that means the current A will not be there in the accumulator. That means accumulator dot index of A will be -1, and since it is -1, I can push current in the accumulator. So after this line, the accumulator will become like this. So after this line, first time accumulator will become this. Then it will run again. The accumulator will be this one. Current will be second part, that is the B, and I will be 1. And since B does not exist in the accumulator, it only has A, so B does not exist. So this part will give me the -1, and so I will push again -B here. So second time it will be B in the accumulator. When it runs third time, current is A and accumulator is this one. So it will check accumulator dot index of A, whether it is -1. No, A exists here. It has the value of 0 because it is the first position. So since it exists here, it will not go inside this for loop, and we are not pushing in the accumulator this accumulator. And after the if condition, I have to return accumulator so that in the end accumulator is returned with all the array. And third time it will not push A, it will not push B because B already exists. It will push C, and then it will push E, and then it will push D. And if D comes again, then it will not come inside this for loop, and it will be outside the for loop. Okay. So now in the end we will get this output. So I'll copy this array and I will pass my array inside this array. So you will see ultimately output is A, B, C, D, C, E, D. That means, and each time what we are getting, first time we get A, then A, B, and since B, A is already there, we skip it, then B skip it, already there, then we put C here, and like that we get the unique items in the array. So let's put this function inside our file. I'll remove the console.log, and let's take example also. And run this example, and we will give the output of this one. This is the output. So this is another example of the reduce, and I have one more example of reduce which I'll do tomorrow, and then we'll move to another problem, another set of problems. Let's go with the object-oriented concept now, something which we started yesterday. Okay, so let's start something there. So we saw the parseInt yesterday. Now we'll see other functions in the JavaScript, ready functions. Let me check recording on. Okay, so only one thing I want to repeat about parseInt is whenever you put anything, you want to convert it into integer, then use 10 as a base, as a Redux. Otherwise, React will give warning, and that warning is annoying. Okay, so just put 10 here. So if I do parseInt of 1, 2, 3, it is 1, 2, 3. If I do parseInt of A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, it is not a number because first character is A, which is not a number. But if I do parseInt of 1, 2, 3 ABC, it will give 1, 2, 3. It will take first 3 and execute this. Every time I have to append with 10, though I'm not putting here just to show you. But in practical, you have to put 10 in the end. Similar to parseInt is parsefloat. And parsefloat took the decimal kind of thing. If we want to do some kind of decimal manipulation, I will use decimal, but I can also pass integer, and I can pass float to get the float value. I can pass another one, let's say 1.23, then I will say abc dot 0, 0. So I'm putting multiple. It's take only the first character where it is numeric, and then once it starts the string, it skips that one. So if I put parse float of a dot ab 1.23, so it will not take number because it starts with the a and a is the string and it does not allow it. So in parse float we don't have that Redux parameter. Only in integer parse int we have it. So if first character is string, it will go with NaN, irrespective of what is there in the end. So now if I use parse float of 123 e minus 2. So what does e minus 2 means? 123 is the number and e minus 2 means 2 times go on the left side and put dot. So since I'm putting 2, so it takes the 123 and put dot by going 2 times on the left hand side. Okay, so now if I do parse float of 123 and I put E2. E2 means take 123 and add 20. If I put minus 2, it goes dot 2 times back, and if I put 2, it gives me 20 extra, and I will get the result of 12300. Next is parse int of 1e10. A parse int does not do the calculation which parse float does, like E2 it adds the 20. E10 means it should add 10 zeros after the 1, but it is only displaying 1. It does not take the E into consideration because once it sees the E, it considers as a string and it does not work on it. But if I do same thing with parse float 1e10, so it will take 10 zeros and return all the 10 zeros because after 1 it should be the 10 zeros. Okay, this is about parse float. Let's do, there is another function NaN. This function checks if there's a number or not. So for example, if I say 1, 2, 3, since not a number, it takes not a number. Since 1, 2, 3 is a number, so it will return false. But if I say NaN of A, A does not work. Oh, sorry, my spelling was a mistake. Since A should work, A is the string, so it will give true. I did not put proper spelling here, sorry. But if I put A is a string, that is not a number, so it is giving true. An interesting thing is NaN is not equal to NaN. So if I say 2 NaN are equal, answer is no. So though they are not a number, but they are not equal. If I check are they equal, the answer is not equal. Okay, so let's go another function is finite. So is finite will give me if it is finite or not. So 2 is a finite number, so I get true. But there is a infinity term in JavaScript. If I say infinity is finite, no, it's not finite. There is another term minus infinity, which is also not finite. But if I say 1E308, that means 308 zeros after 1, it is finite. But what if I say is finite 1E of 309, it is false. That means after 308 zeros, that is 1, and then we put 308 zeros, like this 308 times, then it is finite. But one number if we increase 309, it becomes infinite. So 1E309 is infinite, but 1E308 is finite. So this is about finite is finite. Let's do one more of encode URI. So for example, if I have the URL of like this, so I will paste. I have the URL of this like HTTP and the script and this and that. So this is my URL, for example. Now I will be using encode URI, encode URI of this URL. So you will see this HTTP part is same, and this after that we have, if there is a space, it is kind of encoded, and Q is also encoded here. But what if I use encode URI component of URL? So if I use encode URI component, then even this colon is also encoded, and this also is encoded. Everything is encoded. This slash is also encoded. Everything is encoded. But with encode URI, this main domain part is not encoded, but later we have kind of encoded. Similarly, if I have decode URI, I put this variable in the decode URI, so I will get whatever I was having in the URL, and I have a decode URI component, and if I put this URL inside the decode URI, I will get same thing what I have in the URL. But what if in this decode URI I put this string? So let's put decode URI and I put this string. So you will see it is not properly decoded because this string was using encode URI component, so we should use similarly to decode it. Okay, same thing will happen vice versa. So once we use encode URI, you use decode URI. If you use decode URI component, if you want to do full encoding or decoding, you use decode URI component. Next is the eval, which is not used nowadays. So you should not even use that one. So I can create var. I can write whatever JavaScript I want it inside, and it will evaluate and it will give me the result. So for example, if I say II is there, I will check the variable II. So it is not there. So II is not there. But when I put eval var II equal to 2, and then if I do II, it's giving me 2. That means this was evaluated, this is executed, and we get this II now in the global scope, and I can see it here. This is the evaluation, and evaluation is evil, you should avoid it. So let's go. So this is all about the functions which we did. Now let's go to the React one now again. Okay. So now we will go with the React. So today we did lot more, and we have to do lot more things in the React to be able to achieve the complete React knowledge, so that we can start some project in React. So I have to give you more insight in the React before I really start working on our first project. So we will be starting the Redux today. So we have seen in the React that we have state, and how we create the state like this. For example, user, set user, and we use the React dot use state. This is the way which we use to create the user, to create the state variable user. Now, if our application has what example he want. 1 second. Filter method. Okay, so filter. So if I have array, 1 second, I'll just do quick filter and then we'll go to React Redux. Though we have to do filter separately, but I'll just show you filter. So let's say if I have my array, it's like this, and then I create another variable array equal to, and I take the my array dot filter, and here I will give the arrow function, and here I get the element. So element, first time it will come A, second time it will come B, third time it will come A, B, A, C, E, E, C, D, 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 D. So this is the element it comes, and I can also pass index. So in the first time it is a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 like that. So if I return something true, filter wants true or false. So if I return true, that means this element will be included in this array. And if I return false, then it will not be included in this array. So for example, I can say if element is equal to A, or element is equal to B, return true, else return false. So whenever A and B will be there, it will be returned and put it in this array variable, and in all other cases I am returning false. That means those will not be included in the final array. So if I enter it and I pass array, so all A and B are included in this array and rest will be not included in this array. So we use filter method a lot when we do the search part in our website, and that is how we use it, and we will go in detail when we do that part. So this is a short example of filter. It return either true or false. So let's go to the Redux again. So we have the state variable called as user, set user, and initially we give the null. So if I have one or two or few pages in my React app, I can easily use this state variable and make our application working. And I can use whole of my React using the state variables without using the Redux, and I can build my complete website without even using the Redux. That is also possible. We can build whole website without using Redux also. But if we have thousands of pages, then managing variable from one page to another is difficult. So we have some variables in one page and some in another page, and this another page is calling the variable of the first page. So it's difficult to manage the variable state. So one page will say, for example, username, and now another page wants same username. Either I can call the database again in this another page to get the username, or I can put this username in some common place and get this username in the second page also. That is the function of the Redux. That means I have one page with username, I save it in some common location, and in another page I get it from that common location. And that is why Redux comes into the picture. We have to have some common place. That is called the global state, we can say. So in the global state, this page also can access username, and this second page can also access the username. This is why we create the Redux. So let's jump into the Redux. What is Redux is? So let me open our package. Okay, let's go to the terminal. We go to terminal. So I will go to React.js and I'll go to hello world. So first thing is we need to install the Redux. So I can say npm install Redux and React Redux. Since we will be using the React with Redux, we have to install React Redux and React Redux. Okay, so now let's do something. Okay, till this get installed, let's go into the some basics of the Redux. Okay, it's installed. Now I have already started this in my terminal. This is my terminal where I start the npm start. So it's already going. So let's go to the index.js and do some Redux stuff here. So for example, I'll just comment all whatever is there in this one. Okay. So let's do little bit Redux. I'll give you short explanation of Redux and directly then we will see how to set up the Redux in our React application. So I can import, there is one functionality called as create store from Redux, and then I can create one variable store equal to create store, and this store takes two parameter. One is called the reducer and one is called the initial value. So let's say for example I put initial value of 1. Let's understand how the reducer is created here. So I will create one variable called as reducer. So in Redux we always have the reducer and we should know how to create the reducer. The reducer has an arrow function, and inside arrow function it gets the two parameters. One is called the state and one is called the action. This state is the global state and all the variables are stored inside this state variable. Okay, so all the variables are stored in this global state variable. So now I will do the switch part. Here in the reducer we have to do switch part, and in this switch part we can pass action dot type. So this action will always have some type which we will define. Every time we have to create one type, and which will go in this action.type, and this type is custom. Whatever you want to put, you can put, and it will come here, and based on this type we take few actions here. For example, I can say case add. That means I want to add something. And I can write n number of cases, n number of things here, subtract, and I can use break. And third case, maybe I can say increment. I can use break. And fourth will be, let's say I'm passing decrement. And here I'll say break. And finally there will be default case, and I will be putting break here. So this is how we create the reducer. We have the state and action, and then we have the switch statement of action.type, and I can pass anything here, add, subtract, increment, decrement, x, y, z, whatever you want, you can put it here and create a case for that statement. And in the end, after everything is done, we have to return the state. So whatever value I have of the state, I will return that state value in the end. So now for example, I will put some sample example. So initially here, since I'm passing 1, so the state value is coming as 1, then I can say like this, state is equal to state plus, so whatever state is coming, whatever state is there in the previously, I take that state and I will add something here. So what I have to add, in addition to action.type, I also get action.payload. So I will take state, whatever state I have, and I will add that action.payload which is coming, and I will put in the new state, and I will pass this state back to the global scope, something like that, or global Redux space. We pass it back to that one. So for example, I will do same thing with the subtract. Whatever state I have previously, I will minus that payload, which is coming. I can also say state is equal to state plus 1. If I want to use only increment, I don't want to use this payload. And here I will say state minus decrement. Okay, so this is all we have to create the reducer. So reducer is take 2 parameter. Always it takes 2 parameter, state and action. State will be initially, it will be the initial value which I have, that is 1, and action will be passed by the user, and user will pass 2 things as an object. One will be the type, another will be the payload. Based on the type, we go to the case 1, case 2, case 3, or case 4. This is only 2. It will come only 2 things. It will not come more. But in action.type, you can use payload, or you can use action.user, action.something, or inside the payload, you create another object to pass a number of parameters. But here it will go only as a 2 parameters, state and action. Because you are not forcing this, you are not calling reducer. It is called by Redux. So it takes only the 2 parameters. It cannot take, if you say, oh, I will pass one more parameter, blah, 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 blah. This is not possible because this is passed by the reducer, by the Redux. So you have to, if you want to pass custom, you can create a payload with object and pass n number of parameter, which we will see later. Right now, just remember that action.type and payload. Payload comes from the user, and the state value will be the initially this one, first one. So now I can see what's happening here I can say store.subscribe. I'm subscribing the store. Practically you will not do this one, but for this demo I'm doing subscribe here. So if you do subscribe here, I can write an arrow function. One second. Okay, so subscribe, I will write the function subscribe. So inside subscribe, I will write some console.log statement. So for example, I will say console.log store updated, and I'll say store.getState. This is the method to see what is the state value is, whatever the state value which we have here. To get that value, we use the store.getState to see what is there in the getState is there. So now, okay, so this is what is the setup. Now what happened, I want to call this first add part. So let's say I want to call this add part. This is a subscription only to see what is the value of the store is there. What is the state value is there in the store. Okay, so I will answer the questions in the chat after I'm done with little bit of this part, because since it is new to you, I have to just show you how things work. So to call this first one add part, I will say store.dispatch, and in the dispatch I will pass the object. Now what object I want to pass? So first if I want to use the add, so I have to pass type of add. So this object has type of add. So I'm adding something. Now I also want to pass a payload, because this needs the payload. And then here I can say I want to add 10. So initially the value was 1, and if I pass 10, it will take one initial value and add 10, and final will be the 11. 1 plus 10 is 11, and it will return the 11 here. So we'll see this in action now. And let me open the browser. So let me go to the console.log. Okay, one second. So what I did, I created this reducer, and I created a store, and I passed this reducer variable which I created. This reducer variable is a function, and I pass the initial value of the state as 1, and then I click this subscription. That means whenever anything change happen in the store, I should be able to do the console.log and see the state value. What is the state value is this? Whether it's the 1, 2 or object or array, whatever it is, whatever the state value is there, I will be able to see that. So first time I run this store.dispatch. When I run the store.dispatch, I'm calling with the type add. So it is called this add type. And what add type does, it takes the initial state, whatever state was there, and add the payload which I am sending it here. And then it will return the state. And it will be, by adding to 11 will be returned here. And once it is changed, I can see here the value of the store. So let's see what is the value of the store in the browser. We see the store update, it is 11, because initially it was 1, and then I added 10, so it becomes the 11. I can see it in the URL in the console.log. Let's add one more. So if I do store.dispatch, now if I add, let's say 2, now if I refresh, it's saying 11, and then it's saying 2. That is wrong. Okay. That is coming wrong. Okay, so 2, let me add different 10 more. Okay, let me add 5. Okay, so now it's coming correct. It was not refreshed properly. So initially when I call dispatch, it adds 1 plus 10, that is 11. It comes as 11, and then again I call this dispatch with payload of 5. So initially it was 11, final state was 11, and then we added 5. It is going 16. Okay, let me call add one more time and see how it goes. So I will add, let's say, 4 more or 6 more. So it is going to 22. So initially it was 1, I added 10, and then I added 5, and then I added 6. So you will see the store value is saved somewhere in the Redux space, and we are able to see the new state where as soon as we do the changes in the store. So right now, forget about use state now. Just try to concentrate here because it has something different inner meaning rather than the use state. It is similar to use state, but it is something more deeper. Okay, now if I want to subtract kind of thing, so I will say store dot dispatch, and then I can subtract kind of thing. Type, I will say subtract, and I will say payload of how much I want to subtract. I will say 10. I want to subtract 10. Now if I go to browser, so you will see after 22 I subtracted 10, I am getting 12. So now I can also pass increment and decrement. So for example, I will say store.dispatch, here I will say type of increment. Here I don't want to pass the payload because increment automatically add 1, so we don't need the payload in this case. And let's see what's happening. So it's going increment 13. Let's increment to 3 times. So it should go 13, 14, and 15. Let's do one time decrement. So after 15 it is going to 14, because after 15 we are using decrement, it reduces the one number. So we can call store.dispatch as many as time. We can write the cases with different case statements, and once we create the store, once we call this dispatch, the changes will happen in the state, and the state will be saved in some place. That place will be of the Redux place, and that place can be accessed from anywhere in our application, and we can get the value of this state. Right now this value is 14 in the end. So if I have 10 components, all 10 will get this 14. I don't need to write state in every component and do manipulation in every component, because this will be saved in some global space, and I can use this 14 value in all my 1000 components without any problem. So every time I want to use it, I will call some global space and use this 14 value in my application. So I don't need to create use state in every component and do the manipulation there. So it will be stored at one common place which we can take it. So this is the initial introduction of the Redux. We will go little bit more tomorrow about the Redux and see what we can do with the Redux and how to set up the React and Redux combination. This state is the global state, and it is only the one large big state, and you can put as much data as you want. It will be in the memory, and you can put whatever data you want to put it. Okay, now I'm done with today's task. If you have any question, you can ask.